So we have a very exciting program, and I'm very pleased that we're able to have the Vice Provost for the Arts, Jody Kielbasa. We'll give him a round of applause right now for being here, along with Wes Harris, who is the Chief Programmer for the Virginia Film Festival. We need to give Wes a round of applause, too. You cannot imagine how busy both of them are right now with the film festival just a month away. It's going to be here even 3 weeks and 2 days or so, right? We've got November 4th, 5th, and 6th coming very, very quickly. So we really appreciate their taking the time to come in and speak with us here. So what I am going to do at this particular point is turn this over to Jody. We've got his webpage here. He is the Vice Provost for the Arts, besides being the Director of the Film Festival. I think I have a lot to do, being a faculty member in Curry as well as being Director of Studies and Programs at Brown. I can't imagine what it's like being Vice Provost for the Arts here at this institution with all the arts events that are going on, as well as being Director of the Film Festival.
It's awesome. I have absolutely the best job.
There you go. So it is awesome. And he is going to tell you all about it, but if you want to know more about him, please go to his website. And Wes's website also, and we'll introduce Wes here in a little bit. I'm not sure how they're going to play off of each other, but cool picture, Wes. I want the hat. Got to get that hat. So Wes is going to tell you about his experiences here at
I think you teased me pretty hard about it.
Excellent. Good photo. All right, so without any further delay on my part, we're going to turn this over to the Vice Provost for the Arts, Jody Kielbasa. Thank you, Jody.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to thank Steve and everyone here at Brown College. This has become a little bit of a tradition for me, and Steve has been kind enough to invite me here to speak every year to share the Film Festival program with all of you. I also serve as Vice Provost for the Arts at the University of Virginia, which means I represent all of the arts at UVA, all the arts that are in the college, our public-facing arts programs, so that includes programs like the Symphony here at the university, the Heritage Summer Theater Festival, which is Charlottesville's only professional theater, of course, the Virginia Film Festival, and so many others, both museums here, the Fralin Museum of Art at the University of Virginia and the Kluge-Rue Aboriginal Art Collection, among other programs and departments as well. A lot of that has to do with I fundraise for the arts, I advocate for the arts, and basically my role is to support and promote the incredible research, creative work, and teaching of our faculty and our students here on the grounds at the university. And also make sure that all of you have an arts experience while you're here at the university. I personally feel it's very important that after 4 years you emerge having some kind of, hopefully, a hands-on experience, either in an arts class or in a performance or going to arts performances or installations or whatever the case may be. I have a quick question for you, and there's a prize. Who knows what the Arts Dollars program is for and what it's about? Anybody? Yes, you.
Our students can get like their 7-year priority choosing classes.
No. No, it doesn't have anything to do with priority for classes. Arts Dollars, yes.
You can use them to go to events like the Symphony and the films for the film festival.
For free. Absolutely. This is an extraordinary program, and I want to highlight this because we've actually done research at major institutions around the United States, and this program really doesn't exist. If it does exist in some fashion at another institution, it's only subsidizing, but here we receive student fees, and those go to underwrite the costs of your attending events in the arts for free. So, for instance, you can go to the film festival for free. There are some restrictions. You can't just show up at the box office, but you can go online right now, and if a film is still available, you can book a ticket and go for free. I want to put this in perspective. Wesley and I travel around the United States, and we attend film festivals. It can cost us anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a pass. When we go to Sundance, for instance, every year and attend films there, if you prorate the films that we see, it probably comes in at roughly $75 a film. Here, it's free. We're bringing in some of the finest and most important film artists in the world to attend this film festival to engage in a dialogue and a discussion with our patrons. So it's a really cool opportunity to take advantage of while you're students. I guarantee you it's going to be a lot more expensive when you graduate from the University of Virginia and go out in the real world and have to pay to go to the Symphony or to enter a museum or go to a film festival or go to to a play or any other kind of performance as well. So this is a really incredible time to take advantage of this. I know you're really busy. I know you have homework. I know you have social obligations. I know there's just stuff going on being a college student every single day. But take advantage of the arts here because there's free, and you will never have that same opportunity to do it again in your lifetime. So really, it's incredible. You win a prize, a brand new Virginia Film Festival t-shirt. There you go. Excellent, thank you. So we're gonna run through a brief 3.5-minute film that will introduce you to the Virginia Film Festival, its size, its scope, and its reach, not only here on the grounds of the university, but throughout the Commonwealth and nationally as well. Downtown Mall, we haven't been.
I've been to many of them. I've been through the many films I've been involved in, from Cannes to Venice to Toronto to Heartland. Every film festival has its own kind of character. What you want when you have a film festival is to have a reason for the festival to be different. The thing about the University of Virginia and its support of the festival is what makes it different. You're not only sort of honoring film, but you're honoring the subjects of the film. You're honoring the history of some of the subjects of the film.
Charlottesville is awesome. Just like incredibly friendly people. Everyone working in the festival has welcomed us with open arms and, just terrific everything.
It's really, it is vibrant and young and energetic. I think that having a film festival connected with the university gives it that.
I love that about the festival.
Well, I think especially for me, I'm in my home state of Virginia, so it's great to have my people come out to see the films, and especially being here in Virginia where we're trying to bring more of the film industry down. It's nice to have a lot of talented up-and-coming filmmakers come down here.
There's such a wide variety of both topics and styles.
It's been really exciting because it feels like the whole town is invested in making the festival successful.
I think it's important that the spirit of the city come together to support the festival and to get behind the festival. And all the visitors really can feel that. And the warmth and the southern hospitality, I think it really comes through. 95% of film festivals that I go to, we have a big red carpet because it's a lot about publicity. What Jody, what all of you who work here for the festival are doing is trying to create a bigger idea, which is that film as an art form can translate into giving people information, it can enlighten them, it can enrich their lives, it can be part of a bigger dialogue that has to do with literature and art. And that's what I think this festival endeavors to do and is what's distinguishing this festival. I really could say that it is a unique environment.
There's so much going on, and the festival provides this great opportunity to see so many cool works, not only in this state, but really around the world. And you'll come away with a new perspective on things, I guarantee you.
Great, can we go into the Prezi as well? Perfect, thank you. So this year's Virginia Film Festival, we will screen well over 125 films and have over 150 filmmakers, guest artists, producers, directors, and movie stars in attendance. To give you a sense of this, we're screening the films on the grounds here at the University of Virginia in Newcomb Theater and at Culbreth. And on the downtown mall, we screen in the Paramount Theater, at the old Vinegar Hill movie theater, which is now Lighthouse Studios, and we screen at the new Violet Crown Cinemas. We also screen at St. Anne's Belfield, which is located directly across from Food of All Nations in a brand new performing arts center over there, and at Piedmont Community College. So 4 days, films going from morning through midnight, constantly, over 125 films, and incredible discussions that are happening immediately following these films. And also a large number of our faculty actually introduce these films as experts, commenting on the topics and issues that are explored in the films and serve to place these films in context for our audience. So we have a large number of students, probably 4,000 to 5,000 students that attend various films during the course of the year, but the total attendance for the festival in the 4 days is roughly 32,000. So it's big, it's vibrant, it's dynamic, and there's a lot of opportunity. I encourage you to go check out our website at virginiafilmfestival.org, read about the films, the synopses are there. Hopefully some of them will capture your interest and you'll actually attend some of them. And it's easy enough to do. As we mentioned earlier, you have the arts dollars at your access as well. So a little bit more about this year's program. We're going to open with an incredible film called Loving. It has been the talk of the Cannes Film Festival and most recently the Toronto Film Festival with significant Oscar buzz. This is about an interracial marriage, a true story. It's a narrative film about the Lovings who were married in Virginia in 1957, and in the dark of night, the police came in, arrested them. They were instantly proclaimed felons and banished from the Commonwealth of Virginia because at that time it was against the law. Any form of interracial marriage. This was argued before the Supreme Court, and in 1967, in a historic civil rights decision, Virginia versus Loving, the Loving family prevailed. Two ACLU lawyers argued their case, and their slate was wiped clean, and they were allowed to move back into the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's extraordinary to think about this today, but a very, very important Supreme Court case. And we're fortunate to welcome one of the stars, Ruth Negga, and the director, Jeff Nichols, who's probably best known for Take Shelter and Mud most recently. They'll be on hand for a moderated discussion with Doug Blackman, who is a professor here at the University of Virginia with the Miller Center and a Pulitzer Prize winner for his book, Slavery by Another Name. So that should be a really incredible evening, and we're really looking forward to this. The governor will be on hand, actually, to introduce this film because of its significance as a case here in the Commonwealth as well. The very next, going on that night, we have our opening night gala, because part of what we do is we celebrate. Festival means to celebrate, and that's what we do during the festival. Our centerpiece film is really fascinating. It's a riveting new documentary. It is the North American premiere. It first premiered several months ago in Munich, and it is about a famous case here of two students, actually Jefferson scholars, in the 1980s who plotted to kill the young girl's parents and did so. Elizabeth Haysom and Jen Sorings. They've been incarcerated for 31 years since then. Jen Sorings was the son of a German diplomat and was madly, deeply in love with this young woman, Elizabeth Haysom, and may or may not have been actually set up by this young woman in the murder of her parents, which happened in Lynchburg, Virginia, and that's what this particular documentary explores. We're going to have the filmmakers in from Munich, along with a number of the lawyers and some of the journalists and investigators that were involved in this case, and it's very topical at the moment because it's actually part of the presidential and vice presidential race, because our governor, Tim Kaine, former governor Tim Kaine, who's now on the vice president on the presidential ticket, wanted to pardon the young man, Jen Soring, and that did not go through. And now, the Republicans are basically using that he's soft on crime right now as an argument. So this is a really very, very interesting and topical case right now, and we're very pleased to have the North American premiere of it. Our late night wrap party follows that, and then our closing night film is La La Land. If you're not familiar with this film, it won the audience favorite at Toronto just 2 weeks ago, which is the largest film festival in North America. They screen nearly 400 films at Toronto every year. This stars Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and it is a loving tribute and essentially a remake of the old-fashioned Hollywood musicals like Singing in the Rain, but updated. I will share with you, without any spoiler alerts, that the opening number is a huge song and dance on the LA freeway. It's extraordinary. It's a lot of fun. They're incredibly charming. It's also a love letter to a lot of the well-known and historic spots in Los Angeles. So it's a highly anticipated film, and it's really incredible to see Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone break out into song and dance and be just so good at it and so incredibly charming. We're bringing in the legend Shirley MacLaine, most recently probably known to all of you for her work in Downton Abbey, but so many famous films like Terms of Endearment, Steel Magnolias, The Apartment over the years. She actually is from Virginia recently, and we're having a moderated conversation with her on Friday evening. And we're also bringing in the incredible actress Liv Ullmann, who is a treasure of international film for her longtime association, a collaboration with Ingmar Bergman, and also their passionate love affair. She's very current. She most recently directed Jessica Chastain in Miss Julie. She directs for the stage as well, and we have a conversation with her on Friday afternoon at 4:15 in the Culbreath Theater before we actually kick off with our opening night film. I'm going to ask Wesley to come up. Are you all mic'd up now? Oh, do I have one more? Okay, oh, that's right, yeah. We're also welcoming Danny McBride, who right now has the hit show on HBO, Vice Principals. He's also known for Eastbound and Down, and the co-creator Jody Hill. They met in college, actually, and they formed a significant partnership. This is their second HBO show that they're working on, and they're going to come in. We're going to show 2 episodes of Vice Principals back-to-back, some clips from Danny McBride's career, and then a moderated conversation about the creative process and what you go through and what it takes to create a series from scratch. So that should be absolutely fascinating. And then we're bringing back the founders of IndieWire. I don't know how familiar you are with IndieWire, but essentially it's a trade magazine that comments on the film industry and film criticism, and it's had an extraordinary impact on the film industry. So we're bringing in some of the original founders who created this incredible resource over just 20 years ago at the Sundance Film Festival. Mark Rabinowitz and Eugene Hernandez, and the current critic Eric Cohen, for a moderated conversation. And then we're also excited to bring in the War Room and the legendary documentarians D.A. Pennebaker and Chris Hedges, along with Paul Begala, who you'll see all the time on CNN and MSNBC. Paul Begala, George Stephanopoulos, and James Carville were the force behind Bill Clinton's campaign for the presidency. They formed a war room, essentially, to guide his campaign, and they're profiled in this documentary, which is not a new documentary, but we're fortunate to have the filmmakers in, along with Mr. Begala, who's absolutely an incredible political consultant, to discuss the Clinton campaign, not Hillary's, but Bill Clinton's campaign, and that's really going to be interesting to take a look at just before, 4 days before the election. And now, Wesley, I'm going to give this to you to take away and share a little bit more about the program as well.
So you might have seen that we're bringing in Werner Herzog this year, just to sort of illustrate what this means for us and what it means for me personally. This was someone who was singularly foundational for me when I was a film student at UVA. He's one of the most legendary filmmakers of all time. He's probably, I guess, at this point best known for Grizzly Man, or maybe Rescue Down, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Fitzcarraldo, The Enigma of Caspar Hauser. Had a long and storied and troubled relationship with Klaus Kinski, who was in a number of those films that we mentioned. We're bringing him in to show his new documentary that he's made, Into the Inferno, which is his tour around the globe with the volcanologist Clive Oppenheimer, visiting live active volcano sites and the communities and cults and religions that pop up around them around the globe. We'll also be showing his film, The Enigma of Caspar Hauser, which the lead actor in that film was a street performer named Bruno S., who Herzog met on the street in Munich in the 70s and said, I need to make some kind of art happen with that guy. He is just as off the planet Earth as any performer you've ever seen. He was not an actor, he was a street performer that he yanked off the street and then made, I think, at least 3 films together, that Stroysek and Wojciech. Part of what we are able to do when we bring in artists like this, we have that very public-facing element of big premiere level screenings, but we're also able to be in service of the UVA student body, which is a big part of our mission. So we'll be having a cross-disciplinary masterclass with Werner Herzog in a very intimate setting during the festival. So these are some of the just insanely rare opportunities we're able to offer and build when we bring in creators like this. On the afternoon of the Saturday of the festival, we'll be hosting a conversation with Werner Herzog at the Paramount Theater downtown that I'll be moderating with him. There will be a number of readings from the stage that he'll perform, some of his own work, some of a selection of other readings that we're working to select right now. So I'm really hugely excited about that. Then we'll have a seated conversation on the stage and open it up to audience Q&A. So that'll be a house of 1,000 people. It'll be students and public artists and industry members, community members coming in for a really rare opportunity. And I'm just personally hugely very excited about it. If you don't recognize him offhand, search for literally any video on YouTube with his name, and within about 3 or 4 seconds of hearing his voice, you'll realize you've probably heard his voice before. Another thing that is pretty unique about our festival is we aren't pigeonholed into certain genres or formats or styles. We're able to show repertory films, documentaries, narratives, independent films that are submitted to us from around the world. It's a really broad but deep program that we're able to build. And to illustrate that, one film we're showing this year is the 1985 Akira Kurosawa film Ran, which is his reimagining of King Lear that we'll be doing on Friday afternoon, also on the giant screen at the Paramount. That's a case where it's not necessarily about packing that house, it's about doing right by that film. This is a brand new 4K restoration of this film. It'll be giant, bright, vivid colors, and it's just a really overwhelming sensory experience. And in that same vein of pleasantly overwhelming sensory experiences, 2 other films we're showing. One, a documentary, Contemporary Color, which is directed by the experimental filmmakers, the Ross brothers. It follows a color guard competition of, I think it's 10 teams competing in these highly choreographed, highly theatrical color guard performances. It's actually overseen by David Byrne from the Talking Heads, has performances from St. Vincent, Tune Yards, Nelly Furtado, Ira Glass from This American Life is there, sort of with some hostly duties as well. It's a really artful documentary that does follow these characters within it, but it's also just this, it shows what documentary can be rather than just a document. It can be a multi-layered artful experience at the same time. And then we have The Red Turtle, which is the first international co-production from the animation house Studio Ghibli. It's completely dialogue-free. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year, and it's just received some of the best reviews of any film I've seen this year. Eric Cohn, who Jody mentioned during the IndieWire slide earlier, gave it a rare A+ review for whatever that's worth on IndieWire a few weeks back. So I'm going to try to get him to intro the film for that reason. I think he'll frame it pretty well while he's here. But this is just to speak to the variety of what we're able to pull together. Another documentary we're showing is Mifune, The Last Samurai, who was a longtime collaborator with Akira Kurosawa. He was not in Ran, but this sort of focuses on their long, legendary, sometimes troubled collaboration, but also it's really about Toshiro Mifune himself and the ups and downs that he went through and the way he was really able to reinvent what Japanese cinema was in the mid-century. The Love Witch, when we announced that film at the Jefferson Theater at our launch party, I think I described it as a comedy horror technicolor fever dream. I was told that was retweeted a number of times after the event, so I'm going to stick with that phrase. I think it works. It's by a young auteur director, Anna Biller. She wrote, directed, edited, really almost painted the film. It's a really just gorgeously crafted aesthetic experience. It's an ode to some of the Italian giallo horror films, Suspira, some of these others, if you might have seen, and even the films that informed those, these rich textured colors. And it's a really fun, unnerving experience of feminine desire. We're bringing back I wouldn't say experimental filmmaker, but he really is sort of out on the boundary of what narrative film can do, Joel Petrakis, with his new film, The Alchemist Cookbook. We brought him here a couple of years ago for his previous film, Buzzard, and we've actually shown so far every feature he's made. And this is an example of when it's really exciting to kind of catch an artist early in their career and bring them back, and then they're an ambassador for the festival, for Charlottesville, back out in the world, in the industry. So we're really, it's again, from artists in the early stages of their careers to some of the most established and legendary individuals like Liv Ullmann that Jody mentioned. We're able to bring them in and allow them to stand shoulder to shoulder. And we don't put, the way that some festivals might, we don't put sort of very rigid categories on our programming either. You'll see if you look at programs at some other festivals that there's, the artists are kind of broken up. There's a competition section, and then there's an invited vein of programming, or we still are able to have these thematic veins running throughout, but we bring them here and we acknowledge the fact that they're peers, and they really appreciate that because they're able to come and engage with some of the smartest audiences that they're coming across on the festival circuit. We hear that every year. And that's because of the mixture of the UVA student body coming out to our screenings and the just incredible progressive arts town that surrounds this school. So that those artists get to stand shoulder to shoulder and the audiences get to stand shoulder to shoulder in a very live and direct conversation together. So I'm always every year just so heartened at how easy it is to show off Charlottesville and the university to all of the guest artists we're bringing in, and they go home with a really incredible experience. We really kind of lucked out this year in that we have a handful of films that are their international films that are their respective countries' entry to the upcoming 89th Academy Awards in the Best Foreign Language Film category. From Denmark, we have Land of Mine. From France, we have Elle, which is from the director Paul Verhoeven, starring Isabelle Huppert. Apprentice from Singapore. Sandstorm from Israel. Fire at Sea from Italy, which is by Gianfranco Rossi, who directed the documentary El Sicario, Room 164, which is a really bizarre and unnerving piece, and this is him really coming into form as an artist. It focuses on the island of Lampedusa, which is a sort of touchstone point for a lot of North African would-be immigrants into Europe. Many of them do not make it onto or out of that island. Something like 400,000 immigrants have attempted to pass through that island over the last 20 years, and it's a really heartbreaking story and hugely relevant at this moment. It's part of a broader European migration series that the just recently founded European Studies program at UVA has helped us curate. So we have a series of 4 films exploring that current migration crisis in Europe. And then we have Julieta from Spain, which is by Pedro Almodovar. So that'll be another just gorgeously textured, big primary colors, strong characters, strong personalities. And even since we created this presentation, we learned that we actually had a 7th entry to the upcoming Academy Awards category because Tunisia changed its mind and decided to enter a film that we already had programmed in the festival, which is As I Open My Eyes. So sometimes you roll the dice, and if you cast a wide enough net, you can catch some really exciting stuff at a really exciting point for the arc of those films. We were tweeting back and forth. Yeah, it was hot and heavy. So this is just a sort of smattering of what we can try to do in this otherwise sort of might seem intimidating or unruly giant chunk of again, well over 120 films. There are ways to kind of chart a track through the 4 days, and on our website we have categories and a grid and a schedule that you can look at to sort of build a day for yourself and see a really diverse and I think really exciting program that I'm really proud of this year. So I really hope you're able to come out and make some of it. So I'll hand it back to Jody.
Great. Thanks, Wesley. Yeah. So we're not done yet because there's more to the program. We're not going to take you through everything, but we're getting close here. So this year we're taking a rather serious look at animation. We're bringing in Paige O'Hara, who is the voice of Belle in the Disney classic, animated classic Beauty and the Beast, and we're bringing in Don Hahn, who is the producer. And we're doing something that's really kind of unique. Beauty and the Beast was made 25 years ago, and it actually premiered as a work in progress at the New York Film Festival in October 25 years ago. And the way it came up on the screen was really fascinating. It opened up with a series of black and white pencil drawings of the characters while the soundtrack was laid underneath it. And it would go on for about five minutes with the images of the pencil drawings coming up. And all of a sudden when you hear bonjour, boom, you'd have the live animation come to life with all the color. And that would play for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and then you would be back to the pencil drawings because they had not actually finished it. Shortly, about 30 days later or so, it premiered to great acclaim. In fact, to this very day, 25 years later, it is the only full-length animated feature film that has been nominated for Best Picture ever. Since then, they've created a new category for Best Animated Feature, but at the time, it was against all the other narratives, live action narratives. I did not win that year, but nonetheless, that was extraordinary. It is considered to be a tremendous leap forward for the art form of animation. And so we're going to screen that original version. It has not been screened since then. And Don Hahn is actually best known for revitalizing the Disney animation studios when they had fallen into kind of a rough patch of probably over a dozen years where they were just outputting really low quality animated films. And he revived them with Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, and Aladdin, and then they were back cooking with gas. If you remember, those 3 films, along with The Little Mermaid, were also all turned into successful Broadway shows. The quality of the book and the music, the songs, was remarkable, and so they could translate to the stage very easily. Don also has a documentary in the festival called Waking Sleeping Beauty about that process of revitalizing the Disney animation studios. This particular discussion with Paige and with Don is going to be fascinating because it will be led by UVA professor Carmenita Higginbotham, who is an expert in all things Disney, teaches a course on Disney here at the University of Virginia, and most recently was featured on a documentary about Walt Disney's life on the American Experience on television. So that'll be a really, really fascinating discussion. Life animated, another kind of interesting look. It's not animation, but this is about Ron Suskind, who's a University of Virginia alum, who received the Pulitzer Prize as a journalist. He's a celebrated author, and he is the subject in this film along with his son, Owen, who has autism. And they have learned to communicate his family through Disney animation and the storytelling that's involved in Disney. It's a very unique, very compelling, very powerful documentary. Ron is going to be in for a discussion afterwards. He's going to do a book signing, but it's a sort of another way that we can look at animation, and we're proud to bring back one of our alums, certainly made good out there. Spotlight on Virginia films. We have an incredible film that was made here by some local Charlottesville filmmakers called The Rebound that focuses on wheelchair basketball players. Farewell Ferris Wheel that looks at immigrant workers from Mexico that work the carny circuit around the country as well. Hot Air, which is a locally produced comedy, and A Late Style of Fire about the renowned poet Larry Levis, who has spent his later years in Richmond as well. We're doing a screening of All the Way in partnership with the Miller Center, and this will be a fascinating look at Lyndon Baines Johnson, President Johnson, and the Miller Center has established a new program that looks at the first year of the presidency, basically saying that you have 1 year as president to establish and pass major legislation through Congress. And after that, the honeymoon's all over and it all goes to hell in a handbasket. And you can witness that that was true. Think Obamacare. He did that in the first year, and it's been hell in a handbasket with Congress ever since then. And this is basically with every president, some better, some worse, but that's the way it is. Lyndon Baines Johnson, shortly after Kennedy was assassinated, worked to push through the historic Civil Rights Act of 1964. And this chronicles that with Bryan Cranston, incredible as Lyndon Johnson. And we're bringing in the Pulitzer Prize-winning screenwriter and playwright Robert Schenken for a moderated discussion with the scholar Gwen McKee from the Miller Center. Some of our new releases include this beautiful new documentary, The Eagle Huntress, about a young woman in Mongolia whose parents, her father and his father, were eagle hunters. And it's a competitive thing. They compete nationally there. And she's taken over this and becomes a champion. And it's incredible about girl empowerment, extraordinarily stunning film about a completely different culture. We had the pleasure of meeting her in the Telluride Film Festival just a month ago. And they couldn't bring their eagles in from Mongolia, but believe it or not, representatives of the Comanche tribe that were living in Colorado brought 2 golden eagles for a display with the audience while they are there and interaction with the audience, and it was absolutely extraordinary as well. Wakefield, that also stars Bryan Cranston and brings back alum and Virginia Film Festival advisor Julie Lynn, who runs Mockingbird Pictures, and it stars Bryan Cranston. It's based on an E.L. Doctorow short story, and then London Town, which takes a look at The Clash by Derek Bort, who is a Virginia filmmaker who is having a significant career. And finally, just some really great titles that we're screening during the festival. I Am Not Your Negro, which was one of the hits of the Toronto Film Festival that looks at the life of James Baldwin. It's a stunning new documentary. Maya Angelou and I Still Rise, again, another powerful doc. Bleed for This, that looks at the life of boxer Vinny Pazienza, and Lion. If you don't know about this film, it's an extraordinary film and based on a true story of a young boy in India who's separated from his family at the age of 5 and gets locked in a train that ends up in Calcutta, 1,500 miles away from his hometown. He only knows his parents' first name, he doesn't know their last name, and he can't remember the name of his town. And so he's thrust out on the streets alone, he's picked up by the police, he's sent to an orphanage, and he's adopted by a couple in Tasmania off the Australian coast. And 20 years later, when he becomes a college student in Australia, he decides to use Google Earth to try and track his hometown, only remembering the fact that there was a train station and a water tower and a small dam. But he has to search through every small community throughout India, and you know how vast India is to find this, and eventually does, and returns. Beautiful story, very compelling. So it's this type of window that we can open up on the lives of others, other cultures, other communities, to see our similarities and our differences is really, I think, one of the extraordinary things of the film festival that we're able to provide. So again, it's 125 plus films in 4 days. We've only gone over a fraction, probably 25 films that are in the program. If you go to virginiafilmfestival.org, you can read up on all the films. There's many more that are higher profile films, and then I think one of the things that Wesley and I talk about all the time is that opportunity to discover little gems, hidden gems that might not play in your local multiplex, but are extraordinary stories that might prove to be of interest as you read through the synopses of these films. Again, tickets are free for students if you act now and get them. Day of, you have to pay regular price, so I encourage you to take a look through the program now. And you know, one of the other things that the festival serves is it's one of the great public-facing programs for the University of Virginia. We have athletics, and there's a lot of engagement in the community, not only from alums, but people who support University of Virginia athletics. But what the arts do is they serve as a bridge into the community, and that bridge goes both ways. Wesley and I work very carefully with all the venues that I mentioned to program films on the grounds of the university in Culbreth or in Newcomb that we believe will drive community members onto the grounds. So there's interaction and engagement with our students, our faculty, and our staff. And likewise, we specifically program films that we we believe will serve as a magnet to get students to leave the grounds and venture onto the downtown mall or other areas that we screen at, because we feel that it's important that you engage in the community at large. Long after you leave the beautiful grounds of the University of Virginia, you will go to your respective homes or find new homes and new communities, and it's important that you have that experience out there as well. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do also, is to bridge that sort of classic town and gown divide. And the festival is a very powerful tool for that. For me, I sometimes teach arts administration. We have opportunities for students to take a course during the festival that I teach, and they are partnered with our professionals that are working the festival. So they work in development, they work in programming, they work in production, they work in publicity and marketing. It's an extraordinary experience. But it's a real opportunity for them to network professionally, to learn what it's like to produce a film festival, and more importantly, to put on a major arts organization for a community. So what we do at the end of the day, it's all about community building. The festival is a tool for the university and for us to have the arts serve as a community builder. A lot of the films that we screen here, we specifically have chosen because we feel that they will resonate in our community. We reach out into the community and partner with social service organizations, with other cultural institutions, and we have people from those institutions serve as discussants or to introduce specific films that will resonate with them, or that create awareness for their specific topics, issues, or concerns. And it's amazing how the festival has grown astronomically in the last 7 years because of those partnerships that we've forged. So it's a really significant thing. We try and do that here on the grounds of the university with some success as well, but sometimes some challenges. One of the things that our 10 student interns do that are taking this course is we go to them and we basically go through the entire program. We spend several days doing this, and we ask them, okay, we're screening this film. What are the student organizations that are likely to be interested in this film? What are the listservs we can engage? Who are the professors that teach this specific subject? Clubs, organizations, just people that you know. How can we spread the word? How can we engage them? And we go down every single film on the list and talk about that, and then they actively go out and promote across the grounds of the university to make our student, staff, and faculty aware of those. We do the same with the films, again, for the community, to take a look at what are the social service organizations, the cultural institutions, clubs, organizations, niche groups that might be interested in a specific film. How can we work to reach them as well? And that's part of the community building that we do, and one of the great things I think about the festival as well. So I think with that, I'm going to bring this to a close and just ask if you have any questions for Wesley and myself. Do we have a couple minutes for that? Yes, okay, great. Yes, sir. You know, I don't think it does, but it's very possible. That's very interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. Always possible. I'll have to ask the governor the next time I see him. You know, interestingly, the film festival, the Virginia Film Festival, was founded by Governor Gerald Baliles. And he also founded the Virginia Film Office because he wanted to throw a spotlight on filmmaking as an industry and as an art in the Commonwealth of Virginia and attract the film industry here. Governor Baliles, after he was no longer governor, went on to become the director of the Miller Center here, and we still have a close relationship to this day. Yes, sir. To Virginia's for Lovers. Yes. Okay. Well, there. I guess it's not. But I suspect one day somebody's going to connect that because it's a natural. Yes.
This isn't really about the festival, but do you have anyone that you think about bringing for the Art Speakers Series this year?
Okay, so I will share with you how the Art Speakers Series works. First of all, we've been fortunate the last couple of years to bring in people like Tina Fey, like Kevin Spacey. We had James Franco, and unfortunately there was a problem with that, which I'm not really at liberty to go into extreme detail about. That being said, we couldn't go on with that. So when that happened, we're back to square one. I want to be very specific. We just give a modest honorarium to people of this ilk who very often receive speaker fees of $100,000 or more to come to institutions. And so as a result of that, it takes a lot of effort. I have a number of people that are very interested in doing this, and it comes down to scheduling, because most of the people that we are asking to do this are incredible artists that have very, very busy project schedules, whether they're film artists or they're dancers or they're visual artists or whatever the case may be. So the short answer to your question is we haven't identified a person yet, but we have a number of people that are in the hopper under consideration right now that we're having a dialogue with. And it's likely that that will happen in the spring. So, yes?
How did you get into your work?
Okay, I actually was a history major at Rollins College and got a degree in history, which is why a lot of the programming deals with history from time to time, and political science, which are two passions of mine. But at some point during my career, I decided that I wanted to try out for a play. I tried out for Romeo and Juliet. I got into it, and I started to really love theater and performing. Yeah, I was good at Juliet. And I actually got to sword fight in that play. It was a lot of fun for me, so I dug it. I got to be swashbuckling and act at the same time. So I started acting. I decided I was going to pursue a second degree in theater. I got a BFA from Florida State University and then an MFA in acting from the FSU Oslo Conservatory, which is a 2-year MFA program in which you work with the professional theater. They actually have a live professional theater there. And you train as an actor. You get your professional union card, your actor's equity card. And I finished that program, got my MFA, got my equity card, and I moved out to Los Angeles. I was on a soap opera for a short time. I did a lot of other professional work. And I also waited a lot of tables, because that's what you had to do when you were unemployed in between gigs. And I did that for about 2 years and woke up one day and said, gosh, I'd love to do something other than wait tables. And I ended up getting a small investor, very small investor, of about $20,000, and I opened up a live professional theater. I literally built it, knocked it down with my hands and with a business partner, and built a 92-seat theater in the heart of Hollywood under the Hollywood sign. It still exists today. It is run and operated by Amy Poehler's group, the Upright Citizens Brigade, and is very successful. I'm very proud. It revitalized an old area of old Hollywood. A lot of people came through that theater. For instance, Jane Lynch, when nobody knew who Jane Lynch was, used to do comedy at my theater all the time. Colin Quinn from Saturday Night Live did a one-man show there. Nora Dunn from Saturday Night Live did a one-man show there. Warren Beatty and Annette Bening came to my theater for a performance when they had just begun dating. President Reagan came to my theater because somebody from his administration's daughter did a play, and he sat in the middle of the theater with Nancy Reagan and 8 Secret Service agents, and mind you, it's only a 92-seat theater. So over the years, I cut my teeth on learning how to become a producer. And that's essentially a lot of what I do. Is I produce large events, I run the film festival, I represent the arts, I market, I promote, I fundraise. And I moved back to Florida. I was a producing artistic director of a live professional theater when I was asked to start the Sarasota Film Festival from scratch. So I basically was given $1,000, no computer, no stationery, and asked to have a festival running in 5 months. So I went out to Hollywood, and I met with some friends who had gone on to become major producers. They gave me 2 world premieres. And the first festival I did had Jon Favreau and Penelope Miller and Samantha Mathis and Marlee Matlin, who had won the Academy Award for Children of a Lesser God, and Jonathan Silverman, who starred in Weekend at Bernie's, and a couple producers and directors, and we were off and running. And within 8 years, it was the largest film festival in the southeast of the US. It still operates today, but I left after 10 years and was hired by the University of Virginia to run the Virginia Film Festival, and then after 3 years was appointed vice provost for the arts as well. So for me, it's an incredible position because I get to be involved every day in the arts, but I also continue in my role as director of the film festival, and obviously have a very close association and collaboration with Wesley Harris here, who now programs the bulk of the film festival, but I'm still involved day to day as well. So, there you go.
Who says you can't do anything with a history degree, right?
Well, you know, I love my history degree, and I use it all the time as we program the film festival. I really do, because if you go and you look at it, over the years we've had an underlying theme of civil rights. We look at historical films all the time, and particularly political science films as well, films that deal with politics, because that's a personal passion of mine. I just love the blood sport of politics. So anyway.
And I just want to speak too about how the student experience can kind of be a part and even lead toward it. The way that I got started with the festival was as a first year UVA student. I took a class called Contemporary Independent Film and Video in my second semester with the former director of the festival, Richard Herskowitz. I applied for an internship that year and went through the internship program that fall. At the same time, I was also working as the artistic director of the Off-Screen Film Society, which at the time we were screening 35mm films every Sunday night in the Newcomb Theater. This was before Netflix, this was before streaming even. I mean, I'm not that damn old, but it was still just right before it. This is my 10th year doing it. So it's been right around that cusp, and it's been a fascinating time to see how it's shifted and to see how we've responded to that world and sort of reshaped how we build our festival like that. So just speaking toward those opportunities, like the internship program that Jody mentioned, I really do think it's one of the stronger internship programs at the university. And I get to say that because I want to. And for me, it was actually very much the case, because it's led toward the immense privilege and real honor to work as a curator for what's become an increasingly major and relevant regional film festival in this country. So I just want to hit that note and encourage you guys to take advantage of these opportunities, these collaborations. We're working with Brown College this year for a screening during the festival of a documentary called She Started It, which focuses on young female entrepreneurs in the tech sector. And we'll have a student representative on the discussion panel alongside individuals from the Darden School of Business and the filmmaker who's a first-time filmmaker, emerging artist coming in. So it's those kinds of combinations and opportunities that are only possible because of where we are on these grounds in this town.
Two fun stories. Two of our interns most recently, Lauren Luco, who was an intern for 2 years, now works at Pixar in San Francisco. And most recently, Ruthie Petito, who worked for us for 2 years as an intern. Then we hired last year to work on the festival. And then this year brought in for a short time. Got a call last week to report to SNL and start as a PA for Saturday Night Live.
Not the thing downtown.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of fun, and I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity and privilege to have spoken to you today. Steve, thank you very much. Oh, last question. What's the opening night film that we're screening? Quick, anybody? You got it.